Hey everyone. So with a recent release of Nintex Workflow Cloud where we now have uh, the ability to capture events from SharePoint Online, and we added a bunch more actions that are specific to SharePoint, I want to show you a cool little piece of functionality that I think people will really like. So right here you can see a SharePoint Online document library. Now what I have is a field here called contract type, and contract type is made up of four different values, things like purchase agreement, lease agreement, I think power of attorney, and there was another one that I can't remember off the top of my head. Now what I wanted to do is have the ability to actually upload a document here and change a particular metadata field. So I'm just going to click on upload, and I'm just going to pick a random file. Let's do that one. Now, I actually have it set up that it doesn't automatically change the contract type, right? So there's no default value there. Now, if I click on this particular document, you'll see the properties over here, and I can change it to, there you go, it was assignment contract was the other one, and I can click on assignment contract, and notice I don't have any folders for assignment contract. Click on that, it says saving, and it's saved. Now you have this cool little green label on my document library. Now, what's going to happen in the background in a few moments is a workflow is actually going to start. And it's going to look at this particular document, look at the contract type, and see what it needs to do with that particular document. So the idea here is we're going to build a process that's basically going to say, once you upload a document and you set the contract type, I want a process or a workflow then to grab that and archive it. Right, so it's going to be really simple. Now, of course, when it comes to real business scenarios, there's going to be more logic behind there, but I want to show you some of the basics behind this, because then you can take this and actually you know, add to it. So you can see all of a sudden an assignment contract folder was created, and in a few seconds you'll also see that this document disappears and it's gone. Now, if I click in assignment contract, there's the document right there. There's that file. So what's actually happened behind the scenes? Now, as you can see, there's Nintex Workflow right here. So this is Nintex Workflow for Office 365. But what I've done is actually built a workflow in Nintex Workflow Cloud. Now, for those who don't know, Nintex Workflow Cloud is outside of your SharePoint environment, so it's outside of any of your environments, but it's able to talk to a whole bunch of different systems of record. So if I go over here, and this is my workflow, excuse me. So very top is the start event. I'm going to click on that and show you how that's configured. So I've got my my SharePoint connection right here. The event is going to be an update item. So I'm not doing it when a document gets uploaded. I'm doing it when that particular field gets updated. And you can see down the bottom here, I have a condition. So I'm looking in my contracts document library, and I only want this workflow to start if the contract type field is not empty. So somebody goes in and fills in that particular field, that's going to generate an event that is going to cause this particular workflow to start. Okay, right here on the left, you'll see a category called SharePoint Online. You can see we have a whole bunch of actions for SharePoint Online. I'm using 4 of them at the moment. So I'm using get file. So same connection, I've got my URL in there, my document library contracts. In here for item ID, I actually clicked on this insert button, and you go to start event because that was the event that caused this workflow to start. So there's my start variable object, and in here you'll see there's the ID. So this is the item ID that this workflow is actually essentially running on. And the result of getting a file is I want to store it into a workflow variable called file to archive. Now, if you don't have a file variable, you can click on add variable and it'll allow you to create a new file variable. So the file variable is basically going to store that particular document that we just uploaded. I also have this create a folder action. You can see everything else is the same, right? Connection, URL, list name. And then for the folder name, I'm using the contract type. So again, you can click in here when it's blank, click on insert, start event, and you'll see contract type right there. So you can click on insert and then it'll insert it into there. I'm not making any changes to folder path. I don't really care about the output, although if I wanted to, I could add that in there just to check to make sure it got created. This is actually smart enough to know that if it's already there, it's not going to recreate the folder. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to take that file variable, file to archive, and I'm going to store it into my contracts document library in the folder path slash and the contract type that I've inserted, and I'm going to overwrite any existing files. Again, if you're doing this in a more production type environment, you want to make sure that if there's already a file there, maybe you put in some fancy logic to rename the file or something like that, in case you want to keep old versions or old files. You don't want to overwrite an existing file there. That might be important. Okay, finally, I use this delete items action because we've made essentially a copy of that document. Now I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go into contracts. I'm going to look at the root level because that's where all my contracts get uploaded to. And my condition is where the ID equals to, and I insert the ID of the item that this workflow is running off of. Right? So essentially delete that original document because we're copying that document over to the folder right in here. So there you go. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to do that. It's super straightforward. There's nothing fancy you have to do. For the start event, of course, if you don't have a connection to your SharePoint Online environment, you can click in the drop down, you'll have an add new connection, and you'll be able to add a connection. Essentially, you put in a URL, put in a username and password that it's going to use, or it's going to do like an OAuth connection, and then it will use that from then on. So, okay, hopefully this really helps because this is a really nice way. You can see very small workflow, 4 actions to get that, and it really took me maybe a minute or so to put this together, a couple of minutes maybe to put this together. Okay, with that, if you have any questions, feel free to kind of reach out to me either through my blog posts or my personal email or my work email as well, and through the Nintex community at community.nintex.com. All right, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.